Welcome, everybody. It's nearly Christmas. Welcome to the Hidden London Hangout just before Christmas. We have some amazing stuff for you today. Slightly short episode, but my goodness, it's going to be good. It's going to be like a gravy that's been boiled down to the richest flavours you could possibly imagine. I don't do this on my own. I've got three wonderful folk from the London Transport Museum to guide us through what we're talking about today in our festive way. First of all, Chris Nix, where's your Christmas jumper, Mr. Nix?
Oh, Alex, it's in the wash. I didn't get the memo that we were wearing them tonight. Yeah, we're not outside for this episode, so I didn't need it.
No, you're absolutely right. City Holloway, you're looking gorgeous, though, from the London Transport Museum. Look festive and resplendent and gorge.
Well, I saw that you were wearing one, so I dashed into my closet and got my other Christmas jumper that Laura was wearing in last episode beautifully. So I felt like we should at least two of us be representing the holiday glee. Although
you are lovely. You are lovely.
I feel like I am actually the holiday Grinch of the bunch, because Laura is the true spirit of Christmas in this group.
She is Mummy Christmas, and trust me, I won't be dashing into your closet or any closet anytime soon. Laura Hilton Brown, you're looking actually like the milk tray lady tonight.
Thanks, I'll take that. Well, I didn't do Christmas jumper, but it is sparkly. I don't know if you can see on the camera. And I did do the little rounds that we got on a gift recently and the star. And I do have a candle going as well. So I thought that kind of encapsulated a little bit of festivities for this evening, even though I'm not wearing the branded jumper.
Well, it's looking gorgeous. And you'll be delighted to know that we actually had a YouTube comment a couple of weeks ago saying, Alex, is that a Christmas cactus you've got on your mantelpiece? Yes, it is. And it's in bloom, would you believe? And I've put Christmas lights up and I've lit candles. And if you look behind, can you see my lamp up there? I've put lights on it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
look at that, everybody. So, shame my head's in the way, really.
Full of festive cheer.
Isn't it gorgeous? Well, today on the Hidden London Hangout, we are back to the Isle of Wight. And there is a very, very clear reason why. When we were given exclusive access to the line before it opened up, Chris brilliantly stuck a camera on the window of the train. So we actually have the first, possibly only, driver's eye view of that line with the new trains, the Class 484s, the ex-District line, whizzes, bangs, brilliance that's now running on that line. Chris, it was such a beautiful day, wasn't it, when we went down there? Me and you, boys outing, fish pie, it was great.
It really was. It was a beautiful sunny day when we first got there, and then it got a little bit rainy. So you'll see both while we're making this journey. It was great to be able to include a lot of this driver's the cab footage in the original episode that we did. But we did get some questions about, have you got any more? Could we perhaps see the whole thing if you have? And that's where this idea was born.
And it's interesting because when we went down there, as I say, we thought exclusive access was good enough. But we did think to ourselves, what else could we get by being a bit cheeky, bit friendly, bit flirty? And one of them was to stick a camera on the window. And the view of this line is so beautiful. So we thought we'd take you on that train with us. As I say, so for everybody who's requested it, Merry Christmas to you. Here's one of our gifts to you. Let's first of all position ourselves on this island to get an idea of the line as it was pre-beaching and then as it is now. And Chris, I remember when you got this was actually a carriage diagram that you bought on eBay, wasn't it? And they gave you 2 free sticks of rock to act as paperweights. Is that right?
They are actually real Isle of Wight sticks of rock holding it open because it had been rolled. But yeah, you can see their carriage print map, which if we look in closely to the bottom left of it, used to have a lot of lines on the Isle of Wight, but now there are only a few. And we're focusing on that one that's on the right-hand side for Ryde, all the way down to Shanklin, or as it used to be, Ventnor.
Yes, where the fish pies come from, which is lovely. So we are known we're very, very big in the east of the Isle of Wight, aren't we? We're big on the east, like quieter on the west. Freshwater's never heard of us, but the rest of them, they love us. So we also sort of showcase the trains, the actual trains that are now running on it. Began with 1938 stock in our story, as far as the Hidden London Hangout's concerned. There's an episode all about that. Then we enjoyed the moment where one of those old trains arrived at the Isle of Wight Steam Railway to be showcased and preserved there, 483007. So there's an episode about that. And then, as I say, we had our exclusive access to the line. And this is one of the photographs that Chris took on the day, isn't it, Chris? I mean, you know, girls, you can see that this is obviously an old District Line train that's been made beautiful. Can you see, Law?
I absolutely can. And now I'm believing that you did go on such a sunny day. Look at that blue sky as well. And loving that kind of pop of yellow there against the kind of darker colour of the body of the train. And I can't remember, forgive me, why Siddy and I weren't there. We were busy doing something, but thank you for going. I'm genuinely excited because we've not seen this footage to see what happens next as well.
It was such a lovely day, really, because South Western Railway was so good to us. There was an awful lot of negotiation that went on, as Chris and I said in the episode at the time, and Sids was there, that we had to basically convince them that we weren't going to break any embargoes, and we don't. We're really good with exclusives, as you know from the Elizabeth line and the Isle of Wight and all those sorts of other ones that we've done. So it worked out really, really nicely. But then there was stuff like this that you're going to see today that just adds the icing to the cake, because, as I say, I've never seen anything quite like what we're going to show you today, and it's really, really quite exciting. So we're all going to board the train. Chris, would you like to just help us board? These are old District Line trains dating back to the late 70s, early 80s, and they had quite a long life on the District Line, didn't they? And then they were retired off and repurposed, really.
That's right, and there's several variants of these that have been converted by Viva Rail. This is the one which is used on the Isle of Wight, the 484. But before we can set off, we need the signal clearance, don't we? So by now we know what the code is.
Let's do it.
Ding, ding.
And you join us at Ryde Pier Head, don't you? And the train moves off. Now, while we did that journey, Chris and I enjoyed the moment where we played guard, which was pretty blooming fantastic. And as the journey goes, we'll talk that through. But this is the original old pier. One of the two platforms is now in use. It's a shuttle up the line. And as you go over, at high tide, Chris, the sea is almost as high as the trains, isn't it?
It does certainly come a long way up those piers. It's incredible how delicate the pier looks, isn't it? Yeah.
Can I ask, is this the only railway line over open water in the UK?
That's a good question. There's a pier train at Southend. I know that, but that's not National Railways. That is a private line, if you like, up and down the pier. But this is National Rail, isn't it?
There's an open invitation for everybody to be putting in the comments below where they can.
I love this.
Well, it is sorry, I was going to say, it is really amazing though that is still there and it's running, and it's just such a surreal kind of view, isn't it? It's something that's like amazing. Yeah.
To the right is the
there with the pigeons, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it? There you go. Can you see the platforms up? Yeah, Chris is about to say the platforms.
The track on the left-hand side is no longer used, but it's still sat there.
It's there.
There's only this track on the right-hand side. But as you say, yeah, the platforms are raised to give better step-free access.
The train pauses at Ryde Esplanade. Laura, do you remember that amazing cafe we went to where we had hot chocolate just at the end of the pier? That was rather lovely in Ryde.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, no, Laura joined her family at that point because she was on holiday.
She'd left us, hadn't she? That's a point.
Yeah. I wasn't invited. That's why I don't remember.
Because I suddenly remember the day we did all this was when you were on holiday with your family, and we nicked you for the morning, didn't we, to go and see 007?
So the day coincided with a family holiday where we were there, and we went on the Friday. So they went off and did something else, and I joined you for the train section, and then I thought I really should rejoin them again for the last day of our holiday. So yeah, I left you, and you guys must have gone back to get your ferry, and that's when you had your hot chocolate.
It must be said,
coming up to Ryde Tunnel here.
We must give kudos to Laura's husband, Gavin, for being an absolute sport for lending her for the day.
Oh, he's lovely. He's absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Chris, this tunnel was a bit of a bone of contention, wasn't it, really, with the Island Line? Because people thought that you could never have subsurface trains on this line because of the size of this tunnel. It's not strictly true, is it? As is now proven by the fact that ex-district line trains are running through it.
Yeah, I gather there have been some minor modifications made to it in the 60s just to give it a bit more clearance.
Look at that. That looks so cool.
And this runs under Ryde, doesn't it? And it splits up Esplanade Station from Ryde St John's Road. And when you emerge, as we will do in a second, you basically are at Ryde St John's Road depot with the station there. A lot of people use that as a park and ride these days. But as it comes out, look, it was such a special day to be on brand new trains when the line wasn't open and we were given the line for the day. We were so lucky.
It's great that they're still sat there with semaphore signals as well here and there as you go.
Yeah. And you do actually have to talk by phone to the signaller at Ryde. Do you remember that? It's really kind of quirky. Hello, can we have permission to leave the depot, girls? It was joyous. And we heard about what a shunt neck is as well, Christopher Nix.
Yes, you might remember.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of, I suppose a shunt neck really is where you come out of a depot into like a siding that you then have to reverse a train onto the main line, don't you? A shunt neck.
Yeah, you'll see it coming up after we go through St John's Road, which I've just about managed to stop calling St John's Wood Road.
Yeah, we're doing
it's kind of amazing. This is like, this view, it's like being on a roller coaster or something, isn't it? Because we obviously as passengers never get to see the front end view of riding on a train, and it's so exciting.
Do you know, it's very interesting actually, because for anybody who is watching this now, this hangout, we're actually doing this a week early as a Hidden London hang up. So our Patreon subscribers are watching this live, okay? And a chat goes on at the same time among our Patreons and us. And there is loads and loads of comments. One, David says Portsmouth Harbour could be counted as effectively a line over the sea.
Alex, it's worth just pointing out before we go on that the depot is just on the left here.
Yes,
look at that. Station, we'll see that shunt that you were talking about.
Yeah, and that was where some of our footage was filmed on the new 484s episode. There's the depot where all the trains go to sleep. There will be 5 of these class 484s on the line eventually. I think one is yet to arrive. We're hoping to follow the arrival of that on the hangout in the future, aren't we? We're going over on the ferry, I think. There's a shunt neck on the left-hand side. The trains come out of the depot into there, get permission to move onto the main line, and then they reverse into the station to pick up passengers. And here we go. And this is where the train actually does start to pick up quite a lot of speed, isn't it, Chris? But there's no bounce anymore.
Yeah, so of course we were doing this when there were no passengers on the railway because it hadn't reopened by that point, and they were actually running some tests on the train while we were there. So that's why here and there you might see the train slow down suddenly or do some manoeuvres because they were just testing the train.
Tooting.
There was a lot of tooting. There was a lot of fun actually.
Tooting.
And we now know that the W that you just saw on an order sign on the left-hand side means whistle. So whenever you see that, the train has to do a two-tone whistle as it goes past.
We learned that on the Swanage episode, didn't we, when we were cab riding there?
We did. The Swanage episode is another reference point. If you haven't seen any of these episodes, you have such a Christmas to come. So it's 2-track at the moment, isn't it? And then it will go into 1. And certain sections of this line are single track with what are called passing points or passing loops. Braiding and Sandown are 2 of them, and it offers the opportunity for trains to pass. So you don't just have to have one train going up and down the line.
Now, the next station we're going to come to is Smallbrook Junction, which only serves one end of the Isle of Wight steam railway. So you can't get to it by any other means than by either steam trains or by these trains.
Ian, one of our Patreons, says, I remember many wonderful days out on the island. At the time, there was standard stock. Now, these are trains from the 1920s, weren't there, Chris? At one time on the London Underground, then they went over to the Island Line. At one point, they had Misha Black or District Moquette all over them.
Yep. And there you go, that's the steam railway platform just on the right-hand side there at Smallbrook Junction. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The first underground trains to serve on the island were those standard stock. We even have one in the collection which came back from the Isle of Wight.
Now, can I ask a question, which I know we've covered in previous episodes, but since some people might be watching this one for the first time, why is it that they only kept this part of the track and disregarded all of the stuff that went further west of the island?
Chris, it was beaching, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was about perception of which bits of the line were most used, and because this line served a lot of the holiday destinations on this side of the island, it just about passed muster for numbers.
Can I just say as well, Laura, just to bring you in, what a beautiful day we had at the Isle of Wight Steam Railway.
We did, didn't we? And do you know what? I was just thinking how, I mean, a little bit we've saved the best till last for this kind of cab driver's view, haven't we? But how, for me, this journey now is kind of reflective of, like, say, the year for us. So this journey is taking us through the old and the new. It's about kind of connecting the island. It's about a journey. And I'm just thinking, what a lovely way as the kind of year draws to an end, that we're showing this journey, and it's kind of reflective of the journey we've taken as well, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I think for all of us, it's been such a, well, we say this all the time, don't we? You know, we're not just colleagues, we're great mates, and we talk most days. There's never ever been a hello or a goodbye on our WhatsApp conversations. It's just a conversation daily. You'll also notice as well, the train suddenly stopped a minute ago. This was because the day we were there, they were actually testing the emergency stops on the trains. And if you were really eagle-eyed, you'd notice that when Chris and I were doing the interior description, you'll notice Chris at one point grabbed really hard on the grab rail. That was the point where they tested the emergency brakes. So it was pretty blooming cool. But even just looking at this, I mean, you know, it gives you a really good idea of the countryside and the sheer rawness of this line as it passes through this particular bit of the Isle of Wight. It's near Brading. It is truly beautiful. I love railway. I love scenic railway lines. You know, Cornwall is full of them. But what I really love is this line, because you're never far away from the view of the sea. And it's just green. It's so verdant, that island. I love it.
You know, one thing I'm noticing is that these are former tube trains, right? But there are only 3 rails.
Yes.
Not 4 like in the underground.
Yeah. Well, of course, the District Line trains weren't a stranger to that, because they ran over Network Rail sections from Gunnersbury through to Richmond. So there were places where they did 3 rail running anyway. But I believe these have been adapted fully and had their central shoe gear taken off.
Central shoe gear, Laura. How's your central shoe gear looking?
I mean, it's operating very well right now.
The winkle pickers particularly. Yeah, absolutely.
That beeping that you heard, by the way, is them just testing the equivalent of the dead man's handle. So what they call the vigilance pedal or button, where they're basically checking that the driver is still conscious and paying attention.
Yeah.
And
it's basically if you don't respond. It's if you don't fiddle with any of the buttons for a while, isn't it? That the train actually sort of, it gives you a physical kick, if you like. And if you don't react to it, the train stops.
It beeps at you, and if you don't respond, then it will assume that you're not conscious and will stop.
Stuart, one of our Patreons, said they still sound like District Line trains. They do, actually, even though they've been modified underneath. I love it. This is brilliant. Seeing it from the driver's eye view. Thank you very much, Fab, for it's our pleasure. Ian says, all that was left pre-beaching was Ryde to Ventnor and the line through Newport to Cowes. Beaching wants to shut everything that remained, but they decided to retain and electrify Ryde to Shanklin. Folks coming off the ferries at the pier with their heavy luggage were the saving grace. And it really is. I still think it's wonderful how that all connects up. You can get the train from Waterloo to Portsmouth Harbour. You get on a fast ferry to the end of Ryde Pier, and then literally there's a train waiting for you. It's really cool. Over to the left, I think this is the bit where you're heading towards Sandown, effectively, aren't you? So you've
That's
got
right. Did you see that bird there, Alex? Was that reminiscent of how it went with your car the other week?
the car windscreen. No, that was a delightful moment, but thank goodness it didn't smash any things. Apparently they're coming tomorrow to fix that. Thank goodness. There's another whistle sign. I just saw that fly past us. Andrew says I had to do an essay about the controversy over techniques used to try and shut it all down. It's weird how beaching had such an effect on overland railways. And when you look at the history of how there were quiet, beautiful lines that really didn't get much traffic, and then all of a sudden this guy turns up and says, rip the tracks up. Wasn't that also the case with the Swanage Railway, Chris?
It was, yeah. They lifted the tracks, they demolished the signal cabins. It was almost spiteful, really, just to make sure that the tracks weren't ever going back down again.
Yeah.
The railway couldn't come back. As you can see, we've gone into quite a heavy cloudburst here, and the the rain coming on. So you'll see the wipers kick in here and there. We are actually looking at where the co-driver would sit. So that if somebody was sat in the jump seat next to the driver and a bedheading in the cab. So we're not in the driver's eye view. We're in the jump seat eye view here.
Now we're arriving at Brading, and this is one of the new passing loops for the line. You'll see on the right-hand side, there's a train there. These passing loops allow this to happen. If it was a single track line, you'd only be able to have one train basically going back and forth. But with these passing loops, it means that you can get more trains running on the line at the time. This platform that we're pulling into now has just come back into service after many, many years of not being. And, again, Brading Law is another one of those little towns, little villages on the Isle of Wight, full of pubs, just cute. I mean, you've probably driven through it loads of times in your holidays.
Yeah, there's something very magical about the Isle of Wight. I love everything about it, from the kind of vintage beach huts to when the kids were young, we could dinosaur kind of fossil hunt, the beautiful 19th century lighthouse, the train lines, the steam. There's so many things on the islands that kind of keep pulling us back. And the coastline is just lovely. I love that it's very raw and rustic. And it's a really lovely place to go to. So I'm really glad that we all like it as well, because we really enjoyed spending time.
We need to do that,
together.
actually. We need to do a group trip down there. A question from Julian, Chris, and this actually, we can make this relevant to the tube as well. He says, why does the third rail keep swapping sides, and what's the purpose of the fourth one on the underground? Well, there's 2 points to this, because number one, when you see live rails on the London Underground, you never see a live rail adjacent to a platform, do you? It's always the far side.
Unless you're in a bay platform, in which case you've got no option but to, if you've got a platform on both sides, you have to have it on one side. You'll often see them boxed like that one on the yellow boxing on the right-hand side, just to try and give a bit of extra protection for any track workers from the rails. And they swap sides so that they go to the kind of the safest place for people who need to be working on the track, or point work or things like that. The reason that there's 4 rails on the underground is more of a historic one. If you're running live rails through cast iron lining rings, then if you put high voltage on them, you can end up with an arc setting up between the rail and the tunnel wall. They didn't want that. So the best way to do it was to make the center rail minus 210 volts and the outside rail 420, and that way you get a potential difference of 630.
I love you. So cool. How does he know these things? It's brilliant. Julian says, thanks. All you need from our Patreon. Weirdly, this is an episode that's unlike any other we've ever done, because we are entertaining our Patreons first, and then a week later, we're giving this stuff to you. So I hope you're all enjoying it. Gives us an opportunity to actually hear from the people who are really, really supporting the museum as well via Patreon, who give so generously every month to see the extra stuff that we can do for them, in addition to all the free stuff we give to the world. So this is all excellent. Now we're moving down towards Sandown. Again, off to the left-hand side, Brown's Golf Course. I spent many, many years with my dad traipsing around that golf course, trying to convince my father I like golf. I hated it. I could play it. I quite was quite good at it at one time, but I couldn't stand doing it. It was bored the brains out of me. But there we are. If you like golf, it is still there, the pitch and putt, and there's a really cool cafe there. As we get down to Sandown, Chris, there's another one of these passing loops, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the things that's changed on the line. There's just more of them.
There is, and you'll get a glimpse of something else unusual down there as well, which is worth just keeping an eye out for as we're coming into the station, because at that point there was another of the trains still on the island, 008, was at Sandown.
Oh, that's
just
right.
It amazes me how big the island of Wight is, though.
You know, it's funny because you can drive around it quite quickly. I think it's so green and so hilly, and I think, you know, it all goes back to why Laura and the family go there on holiday, and why we did was kids. We were always there on the Isle of Wight. It's just pretty. It's true British seaside holidays with that extra sort of touch of rugged beauty on the western side of the island. A lot of the sort of the tourist stuff is on the eastern side, but if you venture out towards the Needles and you know, where all the Allen Bay, where all the sand comes from in different colours, it's really beautiful. We're just about to approach Sandown, and this is what Chris was saying about the last of the stock. And we're looking out to the right hand side, aren't we, Chris, for this?
That's right. So you see where the track's peeling off to the right round the other side of the platform for the other track. We'll round on that siding. I think you can just see it through the sheeting as we come up onto the platform.
I love the fact there was a rainwater blob over the points. Did you like that? It's really cool. Here as well, you can see on the left-hand side, you can see how the platform's been built up to get rid of that big step down that there would have been with these new trains. Can you see that? There's actually like a fake platform put on top. Really, really cool. I mean, the amount of work that's been going on that island, on that line, to think how those trains used to literally bounce their way from Ryde to Shanklin. Now it's an incredibly smooth ride. And the trains have things like charging points for iPhones and all this kind of stuff, and onboard Wi-Fi, and the seats are comfortable, and the moquette, Chris. Love that moquette, nice and neat.
No, they really have been transformed. So it's a great experience. The ride of them was very impressive compared with the.
I will say, as a non-original British person, let's call it that, my first introduction to the Isle of Wight was in the song lyrics of "When I'm 64" by the Beatles, because he says. Yeah, because he says we'll have a cottage in the Isle of Wight if it's not too dear. And I always remember being like, where is that? And now I've been there and
the Isle of Wight.
Love it.
So cool. So out of Shanklin we go, out of Sandown we go, and towards Lake. Didn't really go off at Lake. Don't think there's much there, but apart from a holiday camp, actually, there's a holiday camp not far from
I hope there's a lake as well there, otherwise
yeah, exactly. What is there? There's no lake in Lake. Who knows? But anyway, again, single track line. I mean, this is the thing, Laura. People wouldn't necessarily put two and two together. If you just had single track, you could only have half the trains. These passing loops allow there just to be more trains and a more frequent service.
It's just such a lovely view as well, isn't it? I'm just kind of like sitting back and enjoying the journey. It's just so green and lush when you guys were there. I'm just really, really enjoying this. It's really cool.
I'm so pleased. It's almost mesmeric being on the front of a train.
Piece of trivia for you there, Alex, which got mentioned. That bridge that we just went over is the only piece of continuously welded track on the island. Yes,
you said, didn't you? Absolutely. I'm just looking through some of the comments from some of the people who've been commenting recently on some of our episodes. Andy Page says, I'm so hooked on this channel. I found it 3 weeks ago and I've binged all of it. Every episode. Isn't that for Andy Page? Well done. Just like Netflix.
You know what? That rivals Siddy's binge watching, because she can do a binge watch, I tell you. But I reckon
she certainly can
run for your money, Siddy.
It's just so lovely. Thank you to all the guys and girls who create this wonderful comment. And we've got loads and loads of likes for that comment. You Lazy Git, one of our regulars, once again, a great video. Love being on the live chat. For a change, not great exchange with Siddy and Chris. We must chat more to them next time. Big spaces in these new stations. We were at Tottenham Court Road, weren't we? Still remind me of empty equipment floors and the old telephone exchanges, such as Baynard House, Mondial House and Bourne House, and my memory from 20 years ago. I mean, you know, we've been on all these amazing Elizabeth line stations, more of those to come. It's been exquisite, the views we've had, but I have to say there is something totally unique about being a driver for a day, and this is what we ended up doing. We were guard for the day and we were driver for the day, weren't we, Chris?
We were, and we're rapidly rattling towards the end of the line here at Shanklin. One of the comments that we did get when we were doing that last show is people were saying, "Oh, can't we get the train to carry on up to Ventnor, you know, like it used to?" And in the distance there, you can see the reason why that isn't a great idea, because there's a dirty great hill.
Yeah, the incline, I was going to say.
That's where the line used to go. And so the station is like massively high up on the top of the hill. So you're better off getting the bus, because the bus kind of goes to the town rather than up on the top of the hill and you have to walk down or up to it.
Is it just me that thinks like, wow, what a fun job being a train driver must be? Because isn't this just so beautiful and idyllic and like it's such a privileged view.
It is, but it's also
amazing.
The people who work there. You know, it's like Butch, who runs the depot there, and all of his crew are so friendly and so lovely. And oh, there we go, we get there. And had that train carried on going, it would have eventually gone to Ventnor, but the tracks were all pulled up, and that was that. Really, it was quite a moment. Ian says, this is a fascinating thing about doing the Hangout this way, is that because our Hangout stars are also online, they can give us more detail. Ian says the passing loop at Brading was lifted around 1989, as if you don't know, in 1989. In the last days of the standard stock trains, they're the ones we told you about earlier, the really old ones, the double track previously extended right through to Sandown. The lifted track was reused on the Steam Railway's extension from Haven Street to Smallbrook Junction. So they even kept the tracks on the island. Who knew? Who knew? Well, Ian did.
Yeah.
Good work, Chris.
I must say one thing, Alex, which it's not related to the line, but you look extra handsome today in your light, and your hair, you're just looking very handsome.
Which that's very sweet of you. I'd love to say that the fit function on Zoom has been pushed right the way to the far end to get rid of the wrinkles. That's done brilliantly for the last few episodes. I've de-aged about 10 years by that, I think. Shame we can't get rid of the bags under our eyes. What do you think of that then, Law? A little driver's eye exclusive of the Island Line?
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for doing that. I just think it's such a lovely way to draw to the end of this year and kind of to the close of the season. Because what a great, another exclusive, and a really lovely way to, I think, is the Isle of Wight episode that you guys did still our highest rated views? Is that right? What a lovely episode now to do the live hang up and then the kind of episode to kind of, just close that off really nicely, I think.
Yeah, it's been really cool. As I say, the Isle of Wight, I think we've all sort of taken it to our hearts, really. We all still love jumping on cheap flights, but there's something rather lovely about a holiday destination that's a bit closer to home, with a train, with a London pedigree, with greenery and fish pies and sand between your toes and all that kind of thing. It was absolutely brilliant. As always, wonderful stuff. Notes, queries and questions, we'll go through it. First of all, by the way, since it is Christmas, have a look at this, because I am in love with this bauble. Can you see that?
Wow.
That is from the London Transport Museum. And
I bought loads of those last year for people's stockings, and they love them. They genuinely love them.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
I'm going to stock up this week so I can bring them as presents for absolutely everyone.
Well, this is the thing, because I just come back from Budapest. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I spent the weekend in Budapest, and I'm quarantined until my PCR test comes back negative. And I'm thinking, I just want to beat a bath to the shop. And the other thing was, I don't know if you saw this, but these are knitted tube trains. And the
Love them.
London Transport Museum gets these knitted by people in Peru. I think this is so lovely. So I've got those for Christmas, and I keep the London Transport Museum bag because I'm that sad. Comments and notes, comments and queries from our episode on Paddington recently. Charlotte63 says, interesting to see these new stations, how they combine shared features and individual ones, and also how much effort goes into designing and reconstructing them. The combination of shared and individual features, also a mixture of mined and box constructions, reminds me of the Jubilee line. I mean, it's a right old mixed bag, isn't it, actually, on the Elizabeth line, Chris? Beautiful stuff. And so many different sort of techniques, as well as the designs.
I think, as we've seen in the first 3 episodes of that, the variety is tremendous. And they're just, fantastic addition to the network.
Kevin Reed says, great video. Tottenham Court Road Crossrail station is massive. Love the curved platforms. You can see all the great work that's gone into the building the station. Very classy, just like that area of London. Well presented as always. Thank you so much. I mean, Laura, those curvy platforms, they are quite sexy to look at, aren't they?
Do you know what? I never thought I would hear these words coming out of my mouth. But I genuinely liked seeing a straight and a curved platform. I mean, what has happened to me, guys? What have you done to me? But yeah, it's pretty cool, can't lie.
I love the fact as well that when you look back at probably nearly 80 editions of the Hidden London Hangouts that we've been doing since lockdown 1 began, and let's face it, we're still in turbulent times with COVID, there are certain names that still keep coming back. And Claudio Cabral Diaz worked on the Crossrail project. He was actually one of the engineers who worked tunnelling, and he now lives and works in Madrid, but still watches us, and he's now tunnelling in Madrid. And he said, I almost forgot to mention that the 4th of December was St. Barbara's Day, who's the patron saint of miners. So a special episode for me and all the tunnel engineers. Thank you so, so much.
That's amazing. The 4th of December is my dad's birthday as well. So clearly maybe he was a tunneler in a previous life. No, I don't know. But, it was funny though, when we went to Bank, as we talked about in the last episode, through King William Street, one of the first things I asked Ian, who's the program delivery manager there, who was taking us around, I was asking him, is Santa Barbara still here? And he was like, of course. She goes wherever we go. And so that's lovely.
I love that. Stuart, by the way, Stuart Magnus says, enjoying the Hangouts lots, especially the Elizabeth line stuff. I met Laura briefly at the end of the platform at Swanage. Keep up the good work. Very entertaining. Laura, you got a fan? Another one.
Oh, thanks. That's 2.
No, there's loads of them.
I need to know who this person is. I need to do a shout out. Are they on Insta so I can give them a message?
Oh, Stuart, follow her, and she'll follow you back. Follow for follow. In fact, we'll all do that actually. If you do want to learn about what we're up to next and a bit more about our private lives, not too much though, you can follow us on Instagram. We'll give you all the details in a minute. Daryl says, it would be awesome to meet you all. Just loving the series so far. Proper transport geek I am, says Daryl. Chris, we're thinking we might try and, when things are calming down a bit, we might try and open up the Cubic Theatre in the museum for a Hidden London Hangout live.
Indeed, yes. We'll swallow the brave pill and and put ourselves in front of an audience for that one. Yeah,
be great.
So sometime in the new year.
Gary,
first refusal to our Patreons, of course.
Absolutely. Gary Cheeky Tech says, a massive supporter of the Hidden London shows. Just love all this amazing history and architecture and the fun. There's loads of these comments. Honestly, we're so grateful. Claudio says, I'm loving the new season episodes about Crossrail. Just keep them coming. I worked on both Tottenham Court Road, London Underground Station upgrade, and the Crossrail tunnels between Farringdon and Bond Street, but not TCR station, which looks awesome, rich in details and very, very sexy curves. Congratulations, you guys are awesome. So are you. And I'm so glad you're watching from around the world, as indeed you are. Look at the names of our Patreons. We've got Chicago. In fact, we're all around the world. It doesn't really need to be singling out names. Laura, thank you so much. I'm looking actually just over in the corner there. I have your Christmas presents. I am exceedingly happy with what I've managed to get you and sort you out this Christmas. They are made specifically for you, and I'm very, very chuffed. So before Christmas, we will make sure that this gets out to our lovely viewers as to what you've got. I'm hoping we can find a way to meet before Christmas.
To be fair, Alex, you are exceptionally good at gifting, but at Christmas, I don't know what you do, but you pull it out of the bag. So I'm like goosebump, excited. Not that it's all just about gifting, a little bit. No, it's not. But I am very excited.
It's, yeah, I'm quite chuffed this year, actually. I think you will be too. Siddy Holloway, my darling Icelandic angel. By the way, when I was in Budapest, the most amazing thing happened. The hot spas, your hair freezes because it's so cold. How cool is that?
I know. Well, when you were in them, I was like, oh God, I miss home. I can't wait. I'm going to be back in Iceland soon, and I'm going to be going to all of the hot pools in Iceland, and I can't wait. So I was so jealous. But this was a really fun go around of the Isle of Wight. And yeah, thank you for everyone just for watching us this year, for commenting, for all the beautiful things that you say, for liking what we do. Genuinely, we see all of your comments, and it's so heartwarming and makes us really want to bring this to you every week, because it is just a joy to see that so many people enjoy what we do.
And she can't say it herself, but thank you so much for all your support for Siddy on her TV series as well. It just goes from strength to strength. And I know she's just so grateful for the comments. I can say that, she can't. Chris Nix, you are the gift that keeps giving. And before you say bye-bye, you've actually got 2 more little gems to show us, haven't you? You monkey.
Yes. So hopefully we have whetted your appetites. And if you've not been to the Isle of Wight or not been recently, you now want to go back there. When you do, here's one of our top tips for what to get.
Look at that.
Dear old 007, who we met back in early summer. And
Mr. Bond, the train.
We've been expecting you. And if you're short of something to do or not sure where to go on the Isle of Wight, I'll just share that again. You might remember in that previous episode, I talked about this little leaflet that I bought from the 50s. And there's the resorts of the Isle of Wight to tempt you as to what you can find there.
Love it. Sandown, always. Brown's Golf Course, my nan. And you know, this is so sweet, and it makes me quite emotional actually, because there is a beautiful picture of me when I was about 3, and I was sat with my late nan on this park bench. And you know what? That park bench is still there. It's painted a different colour, but it's still there. Every time I go there.
Really? That's so beautiful.
I know. And every time I go there, I think about my lovely nan. Always used to wear a headscarf, looking after me, cutting up a cream scone so that I could eat it. And I just have this such a fond memory of the Isle of Wight. And my family, I was so lucky. My family were all handpicked, all beautiful people. And they used to look after me. And now I go back and I think to myself, oh, me and Grandma used to go there, and me and Nan used to be there. And stories about my 2 granddads, and me saying, Granddad, I need a poo. And they all go, no, wait till your Nan gets back. It's fine. Chris is just looking at me gone out. Chris Nix, thank you very much as always.
That's a heck of a way to end a show, Alex.
I know, I like to share, sometimes overshare. If you want to find us on Instagram, it's Alex Grundle, Chris Nix, Siddy Holloway, Hidden London Law, and at LT Museum. You found us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and comment down below with anything you want to say about the episodes and anywhere you'd like us to go next. I know where we're going next. I know the next 6 episodes of where we're going next. You are just going to love it. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day and stay safe.